Time actually doesn't exist. It's a human construct, and we'll see it when we manipulate it coming up in a week for daylight savings. That will be something that we'll see. But right now, as February was the longest February, the longest 28 days in the history of man, I've come to the conclusion there's only so much Doge and so much Trump we can talk about without going insane. So let's start talking about the resistance that doesn't exist and probably won't come to fruition, but they will start building essentially right now. And they're starting with a key player, former New York Governor Andrew Cuomo, who's officially announced his candidacy for New York City mayor, which marks a significant attempt to get a political resurgence following his resignation amid sexual harassment allegations. What? Yes, Cuomo actually stepped down from his governor job, the bigger job, in 2021 after multiple sexual harassment accusations and, of course, people being mad at all the people who died in nursing homes from COVID-19. After some heat like that, it was time to step away, and it was a whole bunch of scandal that actually brought a whole more people down, including his brother Chris having to leave one network, being exiled for a while, now doing what he can at News Nation. One of my favorite stations right now. But what we have right here is not just a simple rollover fight to make his way back into our good graces. There are some challenges with, one, the incumbent, which is Mayor Eric Adams, who's seeking re-election, of course, and facing federal criminal charges, which I think still actually exist. But the Trump administration is trying to get somebody to actually pull the trigger and drop them. Right now, a judge is holding on to them, so it's going there as well. Other candidates include City Comptroller Brad Ladner, State Senator Jesse Ramos, and former Comptroller Scott Stringer. All these people essentially have said they're going to cut the budgets and cut budgets to police officers because it's essentially one of the largest budgets going to the city. And Cuomo was coming in straight hard saying we're not cutting police budgets and we're going to fix things. Pretty good. Addressing crime, homelessness, and infrastructure issues. He's going to emphasize on that and his experience with readiness to tackle the city's challenges. Of course, he was a fairly effective governor until he wasn't. And what really was his downfall was not actually the COVID-19 response. But yeah, after so many people say you're a sexual harasser, including his girlfriend, who was, the lady that does the cake stuff on Food Network. Yeah, that lady. You get a reputation, things fall apart. Now, the announcement he made on yesterday, as I'm recording this on Sunday, did on Saturday in a 17-minute or so video, acknowledged some past mistakes, but expressed a desire to move forward, stating, "I have learned from my mistakes, and I am ready to serve." Yeah, I know I don't do impressions, but I just can't with that guy. Cannot without the guy. Now, he's got some big endorsements so far. It includes State Comptroller H. Carl McClain and U.S. Representative Richie Torres. So some names are actually backing him to come back into play and to take over New York City. But there are plenty of critics. That say the past controversies make him the wrong guy for office. One of his accusers actually stated his return would be a mistake, that being Lindsey Boyland, a person who actually accused Mr. Cuomo, Governor Cuomo, of sexual harassment. The primary is set for June 24th of this year. Early voting begins about 10 days prior, so the entry adds complexity to the already dynamic race of people being in there. Number one, Eric Adams, who's fighting to keep his job. Number two, the three guys who are trying to take over that spot. And number three, a fifth person. Although there's some other names that'll be sprinkled in there that aren't quite as famous, don't get as much play. The big name is Andrew Cuomo, and it's a chance to come back into the limelight, ascend back into the air of policy and greatness, and maybe be a part of the resistance to the Trump era. We'll see if any of these things work out. But I do know from past coverage of Mr. Cuomo, you guys have issues. So comment away. Tell me your issues. Tell me if you like him. Tell me what you think is going on. And tell me if you do think we're doing way too much Doge and Trump stuff, because we're doing a lot of it. The collective he's are taking over a lot of stuff. And so in order to not get too silly and keeping up with the things that are actually newsworthy, we're going to try to mix in some things beforehand to try to see how they bite. So here's the tease. Here's the bait. Bite on this one if you like to, or let me know what other type of stories we should be covering, or more Doge, more Trump, if that's what you like.